Hey, hi, how are you? Welcome in. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. If you have been here before, welcome back. It is so good to see you. Today we are going to be doing a colonial Victorian mix 1900 style home. I was going for, or I would like to do a little bit of a playlist of a speed builds through the decades. So this time I started in the 1900s. So anyway, yeah, I guess I would say, this is my first speed build, so bear with me, please. But you have to start somewhere. So anyway, I am right now working on the very top of the roof. I knew for a fact that I really wanted a widow's walk, but I wasn't quite sure how to do it. So I ended up doing it that way. However, it is unusable. So it is really just kind of there for decoration. You cannot actually go up there and walk around. However, I am okay with that just because it did turn out almost perfect. I absolutely love this build so much. It's one of my new favorites that I've ever done. So I hope that you guys like it as well. So I'm actually building in Windenburg simply because of the view. Knowing that I wanted to do a widow's walk, I picked the area that I felt had one of the more older style lands, but also had an ocean view because of the widow's walk. So that's why I went ahead and picked Windenburg, and I picked one of the smaller lots. I didn't want it to be too big because then it felt like I was going to try to, I guess you would say, almost oversize the house. So I wanted to stick to a pretty decent size. I went ahead and picked this really pretty green color for the house because of the Victorian style. That's why I went with the green. I don't know about the Victorian styles in your hometown, whether you have them or not. However, I do. I live in a pretty historic town. So the Victorian styles that we actually have one that's pink. So I didn't want to go pink, obviously, but I thought that the green looked really pretty. So I went ahead and stuck with the green. And I think that the green and white on the outside definitely set the mood for what the interior looks like. So I went ahead and used those small skinny windows up in the widow's walk because anything else was going to kind of look a little funky, or everything that I had tried or looked at I didn't really like, and I went ahead and settled on those ones. And then the door that I picked I really liked because of the embellishments that it had in the windows, those black embellishments. Victorian style houses usually have a lot of embellishments on them. However, without CC, I'm not sure that you can have a whole bunch of embellishments. So I kind of worked with what I had, and I really like how the door turned out. And then I used the windows to match. I can't remember what pack that they came from. I think they came from Eco Lifestyle, maybe, or Get to Work. I can't remember. I did use a lot of packs in this. I didn't realize it until I posted it into the gallery, how many packs were actually involved. And so next time I will be definitely more aware of how many packs I will be using. I will probably try to use a little bit more base game if possible. I did use a few base game furniture in here just because of it having that 1900s feel to it. So I went ahead and used the windows that I used on the widow's walk. I used them on the tower, and then I used some nice round tall windows on that little pop out that I have out there. I wanted to do some chimneys, but every time when I placed the one I was like okay, but then I placed the two and I was like that looks silly. So I took those out and I ended up putting like a windmill thing there. So yeah, I picked this fencing because I thought that it was with the embellishments as well and what it looked like. I thought it was very Victorian. However, it was small. So I wanted all of my fencing to match. but nothing looked good up on the widow's walk except for what's already there. So I ended up just using the one that's already there. I kept the fencing on the deck, and then I think I actually ended up using another different type of fencing to go around the outside of the house, but I used that same green color, and it actually all ended up turning out really good. So I was really proud of that. I really liked it. So yeah, this is, like I said, this is one of my first speed builds that I'm doing, and I am just so stinking proud of how it turned out. I hope that you guys like it as well. I did post it to the gallery, so it is up and it is playable. So if you would like to use this, you absolutely can. And if you do, let me know. I would love to know. And if you have any comments that you want or anything that you want to see in the future, please leave those down below. So now I'm moving on to the landscaping, and this is a little bit of my downfall. So I'm really excited to kind of see through my journey of speed builds how my landscaping actually ends up hopefully getting better. I do watch a lot of speed build videos from other YouTubers, so I do get some ideas from them, and they're just the speed builders that I watch, they are just absolutely amazing, and I love them. So I do get a little bit of inspiration from them, but landscaping to me is just very difficult. So I do try a few different things, as you'll see here. I try a few different plants and a few different bushes, and actually what I end up having I absolutely love, and I would put in my own yard. So I don't even keep half the stuff that I try. I don't even keep in here. Like that bush I thought would look good, and then the more I looked at it, I was like, that just looks like a sore thumb, and I didn't like it. So I did end up taking it out and replacing it with another type of plant or flower that I use. I also put in a bunch of tall grass. There's tall grass literally everywhere throughout the outside of this house, along the edges. And I just feel like maybe in the 1900s they didn't have any, what are those called? The weed whackers. I felt like maybe they didn't have any of those back then, so I just assumed that they could only mow the lawn and not much else. So I put a whole bunch of like tall grass in there just because, and it actually, I really like how it turned out. I think it looks really cute. And then back here I do add some rocks, and I like what the rocks look like. It just kind of looks like, I don't know, lived in, I guess. I don't know how you would describe a landscaping on a house. How would you describe that? Would it be, lived in? Taken care of, neglect? I don't know. It's not neglected. They definitely haven't neglected it. That's for sure. But anyways, so I really liked it, and yeah, so. And then I'm just adding a little bit more of the tall grass. I probably should have added some around that walkway right there. I didn't even notice, but maybe I'll go back and do that. So there, I took out that plant and I added those pink, I think they're pink azaleas. I did use a lot of debug plants, which I know a lot of YouTubers use. So I did get kind of familiar with that. So we're heading into the floor plan, and I found this to be a little bit more difficult than I had expected, but I actually really like how it turned out. You can see I was working with a staircase there. I really wanted to do more of a grand staircase because in the 1900s they had a little bit more of a grander staircase, but it wasn't until later that I found the open balcony style staircase tutorial that I had seen, so I may end up putting like more of a grand staircase in a different house that I'll be doing in the future, so look forward to that. But So I do the layout of this house, and it was very awkward at first trying to figure out, especially with those, the towers. I made the tower a little bit too small. I maybe should have made it a little bit bigger, but I think with how I decorated it, it ended up turning out really cute. So I'm not mad about that. But I am going down and working on the bottom floor right now, trying to figure out what I wanted to put where and how I wanted to work it in with that staircase. And I think what I ended up doing was putting the open floor plan is very open, with the kitchen to the dining room to the living room and the foyer. So I really kind of like how that turned out. I think it definitely looks very, very cute. So yeah. So I'm just checking to see if it looks good if you were to walk in the door, and it did. I was very pleased with it. So now I'm going to go in, I'm going to place all the flooring down, and the floor that I used was actually a little bit lighter. I wish that I would have chosen maybe a little bit of a darker wood tone for that, so I'll definitely be looking at that in the future. And I also don't know why, but I had to place the flooring down. I couldn't use it by room. It was really weird the way that the game was. I don't know if it was glitching, but it was acting kind of funny. So I ended up having to place the floor down individually, piece by piece. And but I mean, it ended up working out. So I am trying to put a rug in, and I realized that we don't have a lot of older style rugs. They used a lot of weird patterned rugs, and I tried using flooring and it didn't work out, so I ended up giving up on it and moving on. So I think I was going to start in the upstairs, and I did this build in increments because I actually have 2 kids, and I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I have a lot of other things that I have to do, so I can only do some building a little here and there. So I did end up doing a little bit of this and that. Anyway, so I started upstairs in the bedroom, and then when I guess I logged back in, I went back into the kitchen, and I ended up using the cabinets and the countertops, stove, and fridge, all from Cottage Living, only because I felt like they had a little bit more of an older century feel to them, that old farmhouse style. I felt like it just went really well, and I started with the really light color, and then I decided that I wanted the green to go throughout the whole house. So towards at the very end of furnishing, I ended up changing the color of the cabinets and the counters to that dark green color with the dark tops, and it ended up turning out really pretty, and I really liked it. So, and then I end up cluttering up the kitchen a little bit later. I kind of just furnish it for now and move on. So I did want to try to use a few cabinets that I haven't been able to use before, and it ended up not working out for me. I felt like the corner cabinet that I had placed on the outer corner was a bit too bulky, and then when I tried to place the corner cabinet over there by the sink, in between the 2 windows, it was also too bulky. I just felt like it was too much and too large for the smaller kitchen, so I ended up not placing that there, and what I did place was just a regular cabinet, and I think it looks really nice. So I was really happy with the way that it turned out. So now I'm just turning everything green and dark and pretty, and I will move on to the living room, which again, I did in increments. So there were 2 random couches in there, and I ended up deleting them because nothing was really matching. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do with the living room. I was kind of messing around. I know that in the 1900s they did have more of a formal living room for entertainment purposes, and I knew that I wanted to add in a fireplace, but I wasn't sure how I was going to put out the furniture and add in a fireplace at the same time. So I was really just kind of organizing and messing around and doing all kinds of stuff, and I finally got it, and I'm so stinking happy with how it turned out. I love it so much. So I hope that you guys like it too. And I also changed the color of the couches so we don't have that weird green color. I used the brown swatch from this, and I'm pretty sure these are base game. So I used the brown swatches in these, which ended up turning out really nice because then I use a rug that has a green accent on it. And so it pulls the green into the living room as well. And then I was trying to put a bar, like a sidebar in here on the side, and nothing was really fitting or looking right. So I ended up just putting like a corner, like a shelving unit in there just to kind of clutter the living room up a little bit. So you'll see that later on when I go to add that in. I think I added in when I'm working on the dining room. So, but you can see I put the fireplace in and I sized it down a little bit. And so I do think it turned out really nice, and I'm super happy, and I feel like Sims could really entertain in here for sure. So now I'm moving on to the dining room, and I tried a few different tables, and I really liked this one because it had the embellishments with the green. And then I was looking at a few different chairs, and I just liked the dark green chair that I'm placing here. I liked it the most. I think it matched more than any of the other ones. So, and then I just reused the same rug that I had in the living room just to pull more of that color in. And then I found these curtains, and I really liked them at first. And then later on when I work on the study, I find a better curtain and I end up using that one instead, which I think after I look at the screenshots, I think that it definitely pulls everything in and makes everything look just a little bit older in age, and I really like it a lot. So and then I am trying to find a curio cabinet or a china cabinet to put in here, and at one point I think I placed the giant one from Cats and Dogs, and I ended up not liking it or using it because not that it was just too big, but the plates that it has on the top of it are blue, and I felt like that clashed so much with the top of or not the top, but with the color, like the rest of the color through the house. So as you can see here, like the wood color changes, but the color of the plates does not. And so I didn't really like that. So I ended up, it bugged me so much that I ended up switching it, and I put a small like side table in and a smaller curio cabinet, and I actually like the way that it looks way better. I definitely think it's super cute, and I clutter it up. And the clutter that I use, I tried to find anything that looked a little bit older in age, and I put some books on here. And I watch a lot of Sim Lissy, and she usually puts like 2 stacks of books together, and I'm just absolutely obsessed with the way that looks like. So I have to give her credit for that because I just think it is so cute, and I do it a few other times throughout this build. So definitely have to give her credit. And then I really like using this the pirate ship, and I just sized it down, and I changed the swatch, and I actually use it a lot in my builds, even in the builds that I play with, and I just really like it. So that's what else I put there. I felt like it was a little bit older style. So now I'm moving on to the study, and the study, I wanted it to have a pretty big masculine feel to it. Simply because, again, and I just had a whole 1900s mindset the entire time that I was trying to finish this build, and so all I could think of was the male of the house and his, work bank buddies coming over and having a cigar and a glass of bourbon, sitting in his study while the mothers discuss things in the kitchen, that old style that just really isn't these times anymore, which is, it's a great thing for improvement in society. But I wanted to really pull in that 1900s feel, so it does have a little bit of a masculine feminine feel to it. Well, masculine feel, not feminine. This is not a feminine study whatsoever. But I really like it. I placed some case files on the table because I felt like he would probably be working in here when he didn't have his friends over. And I sized down this fireplace as well, and I ended up resizing it back up. And because the things that I was trying to place on top of it they were not sitting correctly, and so I ended up sizing it back up. And then I placed 2 cups, and that, I don't know if it's vinegar or oil, but in my mind I could just think of it being like bourbon or whiskey. And so I placed those on that little side table, and then when I went to go take the screenshots, I noticed that they were floating. And so before I uploaded it to the gallery, I did end up fixing that. So hopefully there's nothing else floating, but if there is, let me know. But I think I caught everything that I happened to see that was floating. So it is a little bit of a hard thing to get used to, learning how to, when you size something down, the items sit on that sized thing to its original size and not to it being sized down. So I thought that was pretty funny and something that I just hadn't seen before. So I placed a few things on top of the fireplace. I didn't like it. I hated it. I ended up moving everything, sizing it back up, and then I put the sword here, and I really like it. Maybe you don't. But like I said, I was trying to go for a very masculine feel to it. So, and then I put a big plaque from one of the universities on the wall, and I just felt like whoever this male figure is, or male sim in here, I think he would be really proud of where he graduated from, and the accomplishments that he had in college. So I placed that up there, and then I placed a few certificates up, or diplomas, or whatever they may be. And then in this small room that I have over here, I had a few different ideas that I wanted to do with it. Oh, here's the curtains that I was like, yes, these definitely look a lot better. And I think you can agree with me on that. But they turned out really cute. I really, really like them. So, but in this little room, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. And so at first I started to place a chess table, and I was like, oh, I'll make it like a little library, but the bookshelves were huge. Nothing was fitting. It's such a small little room that there's not really much that you can do with it. And so I did play with it for a little bit, and then I ended up changing it either soon or later on. But the way that I changed it, I am actually obsessed with. So I do really like it, and I end up placing the chess table outside, and it looks a lot cuter outside, and I'm really pleased with that. And I was going to try to add a piano, but it's a small house for being a Victorian, so that wasn't going to happen. So I I finished the study, and now I'm moving on to the bathroom. And I wanted this bathroom to be a half bath. I didn't want it to have a shower or a tub in it, but the way that it looked, I needed the walls to be wider, and so I ended up putting a shower in there anyway. And I used the same wall coloring throughout the whole build, because I feel like back then they probably weren't using different wallpapers. I'm sure everything was probably the same throughout the whole house, and if not, and I'm wrong on that, please put in the comments and correct me for that, because I'm not really sure. I tried to do a little bit of research, and there's only so much you can find. So I place a little plant there in the corner, and I add a toilet, and then I think I end up actually switching the sink in the toilet because I didn't like the placement of walking. I don't know, it just didn't sit. Whatever was happening there didn't sit right with me. So there I ended up switching it, and it was the mirror. I couldn't place a mirror above the sink when there was a window right there, so that's why I ended up switching it, because I wanted to put that mirror there. So now I'm just placing a few things on the walls just to kind of clutter up the rooms and maybe break up the whiteness in the house, because it is very bright in here. And I actually realized that I didn't place any chandeliers or anything like that, which is kind of silly. I probably should have, considering that there's probably like grand chandeliers in dining rooms in the 1900s in Victorian houses. So whoops. But I'll definitely remember to place like ceiling lights and things like that when I go back in. But when you place those little small lights in, and it brightens the room up so much, you kind of forget a little bit of what is, or you forget that you need to put some ceiling lights in. So now we're in the foyer, and I love making foyers in The Sims. I think that is one of my favorite rooms, and even though they're usually small and very plain, they are probably my favorite thing to make in The Sims. So or to decorate. So I was very, very happy with how this one actually turned out. I think it's super cute. I found this shadow box that had like a lily in it, and I liked what that looked like, so I put that on the wall. And right now I'm just kind of going through and pulling out all of the clutter items that I want to use in the kitchen, because it usually takes me forever to go through and find everything. So I ended up just going through once, putting it in there, and then I went back and cluttered up the kitchen. So I had a toilet paper roll in here, and I ended up taking it out because wherever I was placing it just looked so silly. And now I'm going to clutter up the kitchen. My ADHD brain goes all over the place. Anytime I'm building in The Sims, I'm in one room and I'm in the next, and it's so funny because that is also how I clean my own house. So it's very entertaining to see my real life come into play in my Sims life. And so yeah, cluttering up the kitchen is also another thing that I love to do, and maybe sometimes I put a little bit too much clutter in there, but I have a lot of clutter on my own counters in my house when it comes to cute little canisters that hold my sugar and my flour and my olive oil, so I think that also has a little bit in play. And then there I saw that the sink had disappeared, and I'm not really sure where it went, so I ended up putting the sink back, and then I realized that I wasn't finished in the foyer, and I went back into the foyer and I finished up in here, and I really like what it looks like. Just a few little things to look at when you walk in. And here I'm placing the Brindleton Bay diagram that they have, and I just felt like maybe this Sim who lives in this house and owns this study, maybe he is on like the board council or whatever they had back then, and helped kind of design what they were going to do in Brindleton Bay. So yeah, I ended up putting that there. And so and then I think I'm gonna actually move on upstairs here in just a few moments after I find a few more things to clutter up the downstairs and the walls, which I also, again, I'm obsessed with. So yeah, now I'm going upstairs and I'm placing all of the curtains and everything, and you can see the little chess table, the rocking chair, a little bit more of my ADHD ring coming in here. So I guess I started with the bathroom because I had started with it a while ago, and then I came back to it. And this one is just a smidge bit bigger with its placement of the door and stuff, so I was able to put a little linen cabinet in there, which I think looks really cute. I think that comes from either Parenthood or Cats and Dogs. I'm not sure exactly which one. So, and then now I'm working on the bedroom that I had envisioned to be the main bedroom. This would be the parents that live here, the adults that live in this house. I figured this would be their bedroom, and then I also have a guest room and then a kid's bedroom. So it is a 3-bedroom home, and it could potentially be 4 if you wanted to take out the study. But yeah, so now I'm just cluttering up the dresser, and I didn't want to put a whole bunch of like cutesy little pictures and stuff on the dresser because I felt like back then maybe they only had just a few things on their dresser, like their cologne or their perfumes. And that's probably all that they had, maybe a jewelry box or 2. So I just put a few of those there, and I think I was done. I think the bedrooms are very simplistic, and I think I really like that because I felt like having the simplistic bedrooms was nice. I don't feel like they spent a lot of time in their bedrooms except for sleeping and changing, so I didn't want there to be too much going on in there except for the necessities. So now I'm working on the guest room, and I really like the guest room. I like the color choices that I chose for it, and I noticed that I don't really like the placement of the door, so I will probably be a little bit more aware. But again, this is my first speed build, so I'm just kind of going with the flow, and I'm just so happy with how it turned out, and I hope that you guys are too, so let me know what you think. But now moving on to the kids room, or the teen or young adult. I'm not really sure. There isn't anything really in this room at all. A bookshelf and a mirror and a desk. I forgot a dresser, so no one's getting dressed in this room. But I thought maybe the sim that lives in this room maybe went off to college, or he comes home to visit from college. So yeah, I'm just cluttering up the desk with a lot of things that I felt like you would see in somebody that is really invested in their schoolwork and studies really hard and wants to, I don't know, have some kind of really awesome future. I don't know. So I'm just kind of cluttering up the walls and the room, and I really like what it looks like. Maybe I could have changed the color of this room, but I felt like having the same color through the house was a little bit better for this style of build. So now I'm just adding a bunch of pictures on the wall. I felt like they definitely had a lot of generational pictures throughout their houses, because it was a huge thing to have generations upon generations. So I wanted to make sure that that was instilled in the house. And now I am trying to place some items in this other very small octagonal, hexagonal, whatever room. And I ended up thinking that maybe the female sim or female parent is crafty. So I put a easel. There I was placing a fishbowl, took out some books, but I placed an easel, and I thought maybe she would paint since the ocean is right in view. So I don't use long curtains in here. I think I use short ones, and they look super cute. And I added some nifty knitting items as well, because I just felt like if she was painting, she probably liked to knit as well. My Alexa is going off, so I apologize. Scared the bejesus out of me. Anyway, so yeah, so I am putting a whole bunch of things on the walls. I ended up not liking them, and then I took them off, which seemed to have happened a lot throughout this build, me placing something and then putting something back or taking it away. So I think I finished up in here. I just placed a few more things in the hallway just to clutter it up and make it look super cute. And then I move on to the rest of the outside, which I do. There's like crazy noises going on in my house. So I was wanting to put these canvases in here, and they were actually way too big. And when I sized them down, they were sinking into the windows. So I ended up just getting rid of that idea, even though I thought it was a super cute idea. So I ended up getting rid of that and moving on. Again, I'm just finishing cluttering up this hallway, and then I'm going to move on to the outside of the house to finish up the rest of that. So I did have a lot of fun making this build, and I hope that you guys really like it. And if you guys play in this house, let me know. I tested everything, and everything should be working accordingly. If I missed something, please let me know, because this is a new thing for me, so I'm doing my best. But yeah, so I'm placing just a few things. I did a wash tub and a clothesline because I felt like they probably don't have a washer and dryer in the 1900s. So I tried to do a little bit more of that. So then I placed a set of monkey bars because they weren't going to have a big play set. I did do a little bit, or I did do a table and chairs for if the mom had friends over and they had kids and they were playing outside. There's a sprinkler, there's a bike, so that way the moms had somewhere to sit. I ended up moving those planter boxes, taking them out, and I put a big tree in here because I just felt like it looked a little bit more homey. So I did end up doing that, and then I placed some more planter boxes on the deck, which I actually wanted to put a sitting area there, but it just didn't look right or it didn't fit very well. So I ended up just putting the planter boxes there, and I think I put a flower arrangement table there, and I cluttered up a table next to it. And now you can see that I'm placing that fence that I was talking about earlier, and I really, really like the fence. Even though all of my fences don't match, somehow I just think that it all kind of goes together and matches. So yeah, so I'm just cluttering this up and putting some finishing touches on here. And so yeah, I hope that you guys really like this. I really enjoyed making this build, and I cannot wait to do more for you. Coming up next, we're gonna do the 1910s build, and I already have some really awesome ideas for it, so I can't wait for you guys to see that. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with me.